Derek from Texas wanted to run the idea of a God concept only existing through human language. Hey, Derek, you're on with John and Calvin. How's it going?
It's going all right, Mr. Calvin and Mr. John. How are y'all doing this evening?
Good.
Yeah, we're getting through. What have you got for us?
All right. Well, I've been kind of trying to find if there is evidence, should it not exist outside of what somebody says or what some book somebody points to? Why is it always something along those lines and never something that is real that points to this notion of there being a God? So just to preface that with, I'm a hard atheist.
Okay. Calvin, go ahead. I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, no, man, you think you've been talking? I feel like I've been talking a lot, but yeah, no, I guess I kind of like agree with you that like gods only exist through like human language. I guess I kind of agree with that because like, as far as we know, animals aren't conversing amongst themselves about like a god or, Jesus or anything like that. I mean, I guess not necessarily. I guess if we even lost the ability to speak, we still could conceptualize, a god, I would assume, like who's to say like the ancient people who didn't quite have like a language developed, didn't have some sort of like supernatural belief. I guess we'll never know. There's no way for us to know. So it's like, I guess I kind of agree with you. I kind of disagree. I don't know. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Like, if we didn't have a language, if there was no way of us to communicate, then well, first of all, we wouldn't be as advanced as we are. But yeah, how would we, like maybe one creature, one human creature that was nonverbal thought, oh, maybe this is why, but there's no way they could communicate that to anybody else. And it would save a heck of a lot of problems. Oh my word. If we couldn't communicate, how blissful would life be?
Right. So it kind of lends itself to, are we able to define concepts into existence?
It certainly seems that like that's how things that are untangible, non-tangible, like that is how they exist. The concept of Bigfoot is only a thing because somebody one time went, oh, I think that's a large ape man. People talk about unicorns. The unicorns exist in the fact that they're a concept, because somebody at one point went, oh, a rainbow horse with a horn. Maybe that's what they were talking about. That's my version of a unicorn. So yeah, without words, yeah, of course there wouldn't be the concept of it. So yeah, I'm kind of with you.
Okay, right, and that's obvious because we're calling into an atheist show. But so I have these conversations with theists online, people I've worked with, and I'm very sentimental to what John said earlier about losing employment and things of that nature. I've seen some pretty bizarre things in the workplace where somebody will tell another person, hey, that the only reason why other people don't believe is because they just want to sin. And I'm like, hey, bro, do you know the definition of sin? It means a transgression against your God, a God that you have no ability to prove exists at all. So how am I sinning?
Right. And so are you kind of like, how do you deal with these, John and Calvin? How do you deal with these situations? Because it seems like you're being put upon by these folks. And are you kind of searching for a way of like, how do we deal with that?
Well, it's really, now I don't have literally any atheist friends around that I can just talk with like
Mm-hmm.
So I do apologize if
everything
is too close to to find a contention or something to. But going back to earlier, let's see, like there may be a bit of a contention to draw upon. Whenever I said that. Are we able to define things into existence? So if you use the example of a unicorn, just because I define a unicorn, does that actually represent it in existence?
Right. And I no, because everybody has like everybody can conceive of slightly different things, and our brains are not linked. There's no way that the idea of, let's just make up something now, like a purple penguin that builds houses with toothpicks. The image that I have in my head right now may be completely different to the image you have. You know, what shade of purple, what how big a penguin is it, what species of penguin, what length toothpicks is it using. You know, there is no way that we could all agree on this concept, and that's why I find it difficult when people say yes, but I know my God exists because this is what I think of it, and I struggle there. What about you, Calvin? What do you
Yeah,
think?
I mean, I would agree with that. Like, just because you can define it, you know, very well, even if you were to write a whole book on, you know, purple penguins or whatever, that still doesn't like make it real. There's a difference between a brain state and tangible reality. And I'm more focused on like the, you know, like the cold hard evidence for believing in something rather than just being able to conceptualize something. Like someone coming up to me and telling me that a pink unicorn, you know, popped up on their bedside last night, or substitute that for Jesus. Even like, I'm not going to believe that. That doesn't make it real. Doesn't mean it happened. I need something to be able to, you know, demonstrate here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what is the disconnect between a theistically minded person versus a person who would rather ground their beliefs into something that is experimental or able to be experimented on or observable, testable, repeatable, these kinds of things? What is the major disconnect there that you guys can explain?
The honest answer is I don't know, because I don't know what theists are thinking, and I don't know why they're convinced of what they believe. But to me, my difference would be like Calvin. I just need hard evidence. I need something that is demonstrable, repeatable, something that will definitely prove what X is and why it exists. And I think like my mother-in-law is a devout believer, and she doesn't care about the evidence side of things. It just gives her like a good feeling. It gives her comfort believing these things, and I think that's okay for her. And maybe that is the difference. She just doesn't care. It gives her comfort. That's why she believes. Again, like Calvin said earlier, I care about things that are true, and that's why I don't accept the evidence that's presented for the existence of gods and all the theistic beliefs. If that helps.
Understood. Yeah, no. Well, it draws back to these conversations I have. I've got a very active in the Baptist church friend. We go play pool every now and again. Like I said, I used to work with him. I've since gotten a better job, moved on a little bit. But anyway, we still have these conversations that are just knockdown, drag out disagreements, and to subvert any kind of presentation that I put forward, that he doesn't actually possess any kind of truth to his claims, that he's just merely asserting that they're truth. How, like, is there any kind of like advice or reason or rationality that I mean, I know that you guys do this for show, so I'm looking for a little insight and help.
Sure. I find, and this may be different to Calvin, but I find a great technique is asking questions. And the more questions you ask and allow the person you're asking the question to think about their answer, and then repeat their answer back to them, almost they hear the words and they think, actually, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Don't try and force beliefs onto people. That's only ever going to create division and guardedness. Just be, honest and say, okay, well, why do you accept this? And what could you say to me that might convince me? And that eventually helps them step away from what they're saying and maybe rethink it. Calvin, have you got anything there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of echoing off of you, I agree. Yeah, just asking the questions. I don't know if you're familiar with street epistemology. Mm-hmm. It's something that I practice on the regular. It's basically just the Socratic method of questioning. You're not enforcing your beliefs on anybody. It's quite literally just learning what questions to ask and what experiments that you can do, even on on the fly to do this. I take a sign and I go right out to the downtown area near me, and it just says "Ask an Atheist" on there, and I just stand there silently, and people can, you know, ask me questions, right? And I'm never telling. I don't tell people what I believe. I allow them to ask me questions. I respond to the questions, but I don't, you know, I don't come out saying I'm an atheist. I believe that you know, believing in fairy tales or whatever.
Right.
If someone says, you know, hey, I believe in a God, you know, you can start by just asking, what God? Why do you believe that? You know, if all else fails, what's the number one reason why you believe in this God? Is it something that we can test for? What can I do when, you know, after this conversation? What can I do to be convinced of this? Is there anything that I can do? I mean, I guess a couple good book suggestions would be A Manual for Creating Atheists by Dr. Peter Boghossian. It's a really great book about street epistemology, early street epistemology, checking out SE International with Anthony Magnabosco, super cool guy. Yeah, just learning what questions to ask, when to ask them, and how to ask them. You know, you don't want to, you want every conversation to end with like a handshake. If right. You're walking away from it and you both are angry, or one of you is angry, then no one's going to go anywhere. No one's going to entertain changing their minds. You want to just plant those seeds of doubt, but like as cordially as possible.
Yeah.
Okay, because I get essentially labeled as being a mockery or creating a mockery of somebody's belief if I just try to point out a flaw. So that information and that kind of reinforcement of how I should go about, you know, not necessarily poking holes in somebody's belief, right. but just kind of find a way to go about dancing around asking questions and let them
Correct.
lead themselves to that.
And we are by no means experts, so please don't like take that as what you should do. That is just again, Calvin and I may be different, but it's just what works for us. There are places where you can poke holes. You know, people have YouTube channels and TikToks where they take an argument and poke those holes, and that's a great place to do it because it helps you get it out there. But in real life, you don't want to be doing that, in my opinion, because again, you do create those walls, those barriers, and it just makes it hard to have conversations. And like Calvin said, you want to have good conversations. You want to leave these things feeling like, oh, that was a really nice chat and I learned a lot, and they may have learned a lot as well. So yeah, that's absolutely what I would recommend. Also, just whilst you're on the line, Derek, I do want to just let you know that there are probably a lot more non-believers around you than you realize. And
yes,
since I've been out in Kentucky as an atheist, I've had a ton of people come up to me and say, I don't believe either, and thank you for being a voice and giving me a place to come to. So there are places, I guarantee, around you that have non-believers there, and search on social media for groups in your area, because I guarantee there are some folks out there.
I got kicked out of a group. I went into it. It was like a chit chat where you know, you have the town and it's a such and such chit chat group. And I just asked, hey, is there an atheist community? And I got hit with all kinds of slander, devil worshiper, and then I got kicked out. And so, you know, I've tried, but as a result, you're somewhat right here, because as a result, I have had a couple of people reach out to me through instant messenger. At the moment, I'm working so much in my job. Everybody literally there, like that I've met, is just so staunchly religious.
Right, and a good tip that I have done and given people a safe space online was I created a group on the most popular social media. I nearly said it then. I guess we could say Facebook. Yeah, we're allowed to. And I created a group for my hometown and just said, like, I think it was atheists and secular believers, you know, something along those lines. And I just created a group and I didn't invite anybody. And slowly more and more people are joining it because, you know, they recognize that that's a place they can go to. So you can just create that space, and, you know, eventually people will come there.
All right, perfect. Well, I will definitely give that some consideration and see how it goes from there, because I'm past the phase of being offended when somebody tells me that their beliefs say that I would go to hell if I don't convert or any of this stuff. I'm well beyond being offended by somebody trying to or appearing to facilitate and present their beliefs as if they're just concerned or care for me and my soul, whatever that is. You know, I'm well beyond that. But I also don't want to come off as offensive. And it seems as though through the communication that I'm getting reciprocated to me is that, you know, I am mocking them, and I don't, you know, they're friends. I don't want to do that.
Right. And that says a lot about you, Derek. That says, like, you know, I want to have these conversations. I want people to know who I am, but I don't want to be offending folks. So I just like to have some conversations and find some like-minded people. And I guarantee you, the more you do it and the more conversations you have, you know, asking questions, you will definitely find those people. I can guarantee. We're at what now? 1 in 4 in the USA are now at least nuns and have no religion. They may believe in a God, but there's no, like, it's not Christian or anything like that. So, nuns, atheists, and agnostics make up 1 in 4, I think. That's the stat. Is that right, Calvin? It's around that, right?
That sounds about right. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know the statistic off the top of my head, but that sounds right.
So just keep searching, Derek. And also, you know, we're here. There are shows for you to call into, and you never know. There might be a guest on sometime that's in the same state as you that might well be, you know, just down the road, and you can start, you know, conversing with them and hanging out and you know, at least make a friend that way. But there are tons of people in the chats in these shows as well. Just speak to folks. You know, I'm in this state. Anybody around that I could like message and chat to? There's tons of social media that you could you know, meet folks on. So I believe in you, Derek. I think that there's definitely some folks out there that think just like you, that are just waiting to meet you.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I thank you for your call show tonight. I wasn't even planning on calling into anywhere or doing anything, but this is
Glad you did.
definitely one of my premier and favorite shows to watch and listen to. So I jumped in as soon as y'all started, and I'm going to be here until y'all end it tonight. Hopefully I'm not your last call.
Well, we've reached the end of the show, actually. So, Derek, you are the last call, and you're a great, what a lovely note to end on. It's been perfect. This is like the exact kind of, like I was saying to Calvin earlier, this is the exact kind of call I like, just a nice conversation where we can just hammer some stuff out and have a good time. So we appreciate you very much.
Yeah, super cool. Thank you, Derek.
All right. Well, I'll catch you guys next time. If not in a call, I'll be in the chat and doing what you guys have recommended, and, you know, seeing how those shoes fit. And if there's any updates, I'll let y'all know.
Good luck. And yeah, do let us know. We're right here for it. So you take care. Cheers, Derek.
See ya.
All right. Cheers.
There we go. I said cheers because I'm British. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. Come on.
He'd said it back, so it's okay.